I'm going to be recommending non-video game music based on video game music, and I'm going to break it down to two categories. One's going to be orchestral, one's going to be electronic, and it's been a long week and I don't have a whole heck of a lot else to say for this introduction. I can't think of anything, my mind's kind of shot, so we're just going to go!
Kicking off this list is the famous Great Fairy Fountain theme, first introduced in The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. There is a section of Poulenc's Concerto for Two Pianos and Orchestra that begins strikingly similarly to the first phrase of the Great Fairy music, but soon goes a different direction. It's kinda cool to me, because it shows how one of the great composers comes to and departs from such an earworm like this. Arceus, or Arceus, whatever, the battle theme for this godlike Pokemon was first introduced in the 4th generation of Pokemon games. Very ominous and very distinct from all the other music in the game, the music is quite sparse, with big percussion hits and occasional filling in of the quiet space with creepy sounds. Pokemon Legends Arceus, or Arceus, whatever, I don't care anymore, changed up this music slightly, adding in a bit more activity and tempo variation. In this form, I find its vibes quite similar to the sacrificial dance portion of Igor Stravinsky's Rite of Spring. Sacrificial dance starts getting you used to a rhythmic pattern, then just slightly alters it so you can't get the steadiest sense of beat. The music in Legends Arceus, does the same, with different speeds between drum hits. Both of them have stuff that doesn't feel like it fits rhythmically on top of that, kinda like an almost steady but not quite pulse, with random things on top. Stravinsky was influenced by African polyrhythmic drumming while writing Rite of Spring, and Pokemon composer Masuda was influenced by Stravinsky, so it's kinda cool to hear the parallels here. Fable was one of the few Xbox console-exclusive role-playing games. The game takes place in Albion, which is composed of city-states with wide swaths of countryside and wilderness between them. Reflecting the nature setting of Lookout Point is the track Summer Fields by Russell Shaw, which takes a note from Impressionist music meant to evoke a certain mood or atmosphere of a subject, rather than attempting a literal representation through music. There's a low drone with lots of pretty stuff on top of it, repeated notes, tiny phrases, really long phrases, but none of it is something I'd consider an earworm or something you'd be walking down the street humming. It's more of a sound collage of sorts. I find Bax's Tintagel to be quite similar in many ways, with its drones and evocative musical ideas. Bax was inspired to write this piece by his visit to Tintagel Castle in Cornwall, and if you check some of the images of it, it's just so luscious and grandiose, like the setting Shaw was working with in Fable. Now, Bax's piece is way longer, and there are some parts that don't fit as nicely when compared with Summer Fields, but I feel the cores of both pieces are similar, and the more action-packed segments of Bax's work harken to some of the action-packed segments of Fable. Marvel's Spider-Man has a score similar to those of the movies of the franchise. Very dynamic, so they can be calm at one point, and then transition smoothly to something more hectic. That's what makes Spider-Man my personal favorite Marvel superhero. He goes through his Peter Parker tribulations in tandem with his Spider-Man ones, with them mixing in and out of each other, all in my home of NYC. However, similar music can be based on woodlands. Arnold Bax's November Woods features an extremely similar opening to that of Spider-Man, and features a lot of that same dynamicism of the Spider-Man OST. While making this video, I really found out how versatile Bax was. If I can relate his music to two drastically different games, like Fable and Spider-Man, he must be really resourceful with his musical vocabulary. I mentioned this in a previous video on God of War, but with the 2018 soft reboot of the franchise, the setting was changed to be based on Nordic mythology, and the music reflects that in various ways, with the use of instruments from Nordic culture or the imitation of those instruments with traditional Western orchestral instruments, like having an orchestral string section play rapid arpeggios to mimic the harps of the Nordic bards. Niels Gade's First Symphony reflects a lot of these ideas as well, being based on a melody that he composed, itself based on Nordic folk melodies. Our last orchestral recommendation was God of War, so let's continue here with Ragnarok. Bear McCreary and Hosier linked up for Blood Upon the Snow. This song portrays the relationship between Kratos and Atreus and the world around them. It features a prominent drone, like a lot of the God of War soundtrack, and so it made me think of the French artist Camille and her Les Filles album, which features a drone, a bee, in the background of every song. Camille even stated that many people returned the record, thinking the drone was a recording error, but it was very much on purpose, and its use in Pale September in English, is similar to Blood Upon the Snow, with her vocals prominently featured in the beginning before things get amped up later on, with more instruments and chant-like vocals, like the Ragnarok track.
To all things housed in her silence, nature offers a violence.
Pas le septembre, comme il est loin le temps du ciel sans cendre, il serait temps de s'entendre sur le...
This one is kind of a meme, but Robo's theme is really similar to the classic Rickroll track Never Gonna Give You Up. Chrono Trigger's composer said it was unintentional, and that he had never heard of Rick Astley, and while Never Gonna Give You Up had never charted in Japan, I'll let you be the judge. Scattered and Lost plays during Chapter 3 of Celeste. Like many Celeste tracks, this one features a prominent piano in combination with lots of electronics. But here, it's reflecting the scary nature of Mr. Oshiro and the Celestial Resort. The Gallery by Muse is also a bit of a departure from the norm for the band, with a prominent piano and a theremin that kinda reminds me of the ghostly Oshiro. When I play it back with Celeste footage, it really confirms the similar vibes to me. Viewtiful Joe is a superhero, but he's also just kind of a movie-loving dude at the same time. And his theme music reflects this by being action-packed, but not relying on superhero music tropes like big brass fanfares. There's a comparable duality in Solid Disco's Never Let You Go, with its fusion of EDM and disco styles while, again, not being too tropey. Marble Garden Zone features a very prominent rhythm section of percussion and bass, and that same can be said of Bjork's Alarm Call. Both give up a sort of 80s dance vibe without actually being straight up that.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you check out part 1, link in the description, and if you've already checked that out, maybe watch it again because I need that kind of validation in my life. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.